Hi YouTube, it's ACDodd here again and welcome to another episode of On The Road Tuning with me, ACDodd. And this time I've got 5 cars for you in Thatcham. Let's crack on. So, here we are, Thatcham. Beautiful car, first off. So I think we got 5 cars today. So this is at someone's private address. And this is an absolutely beautiful Traveller. And under the bonnet, we've got the usual 850. Engine's running currently. HS2 carburation. 25D. Sounds good. Let's go and speak to the owner and see why he's brought it along. Okay, so this is Andy, and he's the owner of this gorgeous Traveller. So, why have you brought it down today, Andy?
So I bought it today because, it runs really quite well. It accelerates really nicely, but it's hesitating around about 20 to 30 mile an hour. You can just feel like a little heart murmur, you know, it's like just doing this as it drives.
Interesting you say that. When you're going fast to say 50 mile an hour and you're cruising, does it jerk and play about then?
I've not noticed it.
Okay.
And it might just be because it's going faster, so I don't notice the hesitation as much.
Yeah.
But it seems to drive at speed reasonably well.
Okay. All right. Well, let's dig in and see what we can find.
Great stuff.
Okay. So getting into this one, we can see it's got the original coil on it. A lot of original features on this one. Just checking the dwell angle, and 60 is the target on this one. You can see we're running at about 56. That's plenty good enough for this engine. Okay, so got the plugs out of this little Traveller, and we've got BP5s, which are the right plugs, but they're not gapped correctly, and we've got far too much fuel. So first thing is gap them properly, and then before we start the engine again, lean the mix off, so we start cleaning them plugs up. So we got the plugs gapped, everything else is fine, dwell angle, all the rest of it. So turn our attention to the carburetor, and again we got one of these original Mark 1 type air boxes. So again, the owner in this case doesn't do very many miles, so he's going to run without the air filter, which is great, because even at 2,000 revs on very light throttle openings, effectively by taking the airbox off has leaned out the fueling another 20%. So even at very light throttle openings on an 850, which is a small engine, these airboxes are terrible. So we're going to run this original airbox with no air filtering. Again, not recommending if you're doing thousands and thousands of miles a year, but in this case this is going to do thousands and thousands of miles over 10 years. So it's not going to be an issue. Anyway, let's get on with the tune. Okay, so we got this one right. So all it needed in the end was an M needle. The EB needle was way too lean, even with the standard restrictive airbox. So I took the air filter out, put an M needle in, and she's absolutely spot on. So I've not had to touch the needle. So Lady Luck is helping me today with this one. So we'll send the owner out in it now and see what he thinks. Okay, so Andy's been out for a test drive. You can already see a smile on his face, which is looking good. So what's it like, Andy?
Oh, brilliant. I mean, pickup, acceleration is so much better.
Yeah.
And I think he'll go up hills without too much trouble next time.
Excellent. Okay, and you said beforehand that you had a little sort of misfire, a little hesitation. I think you said we haven't managed to fix that this time.
Yeah.
And that's usually an indication that you got further faults that need to be worked through.
Yeah, so I think maybe we'll have to take a look at the distributor, because it's probably got a bit of a wobble on it.
Okay.
I mean, it's the original distributor, so I'm not surprised.
All right, fair enough. Anyway, would you recommend this service to anyone else?
100%. I mean, the only mistake I made was to say that it was all running fine before I arrived. and now I know it wasn't.
Yeah, okay, all right. Well, thanks for bringing it down. It's a fantastic example of the Mark, and I really appreciate a chance to work on it.
Brilliant job. Thanks very much indeed.
Okay, car number 2 is a beautiful RSP. Beautiful car. She's only got just about 7,000 miles on. So with just about 7,000 miles on, this is a good one, so you can see what's under the bonnet of an original factory leads. Beautiful example. So I don't know if you can hear that, but it's just missing slightly at idle. So let's dig in after talking to the owner and see why he's brought it to us. Okay, so this is Paul. This is his lovely RSP. So why have you brought it down today?
It's been in storage for 20 odd years, and so it does need finishing off, commissioning. I don't know what's been done before with the carburation or timing or anything else, so it just needs setting up as it should be to make it enjoyable driving.
Right, well, with that case then, let's get stuck in.
Thank you.
Okay, RSP wise, we're all looking good under the bonnet. As I say, it's very little miles, so it's running reasonably well. However, we turn our attention to the carburetor and we're running really lean, so we're just about okay at 2,000, but then after that, at every point in the rev range, it's way too lean. So I need to obviously look at the needle and see if we can get that any better. Just while I remember, I did actually have to move the ignition timing, so that was 7 degrees retarded. So the only things wrong with this one really was timing and fueling. All the plugs and everything else seems to be good, so let's get that done, and hopefully this one will be ready for a test drive. Okay, so got this one running, still a little bit low at idle. And what we've deduced is it's got a slight leak on the inlet manifold, which is causing us to run a little bit more lumpy than it needs to. But I can't fix that today. That's one of the things to remember when you're doing a multi-car day, is if you want your car perfect, then you need to bring it in and make sure there's no leaks on it. Or you use a day like today for me to, inform you of the problems with the car. So in this case, I have changed the needle because our needle was damaged. Okay, so we've got the needle, and this is the damaged one, which I'll just mention. And as you can see, right at the idle section, right where it's been sat for a long time with no fuel stabiliser, it's been damaged. So the original factory needle is no good anymore. So I've replaced it with a BDL needle, and the engine's fueling very well. So we're going to let the owner go out in it now and see what they think. Okay, so we just cut back to me there. Because of these days run so quickly, sometimes I forget to get things done. And in this case, I actually forgot to get Paul to come back on camera. But he, rest assured, he has sent me a message afterwards to say the car's now in a different class. And he's very happy with the performance. So without further ado, let's move on. Okay, next car. Interesting one. So we've got a rat look. So rusty, and it's been clear coated, so very interesting, although it's not complete, I don't think. And we've got a flip front, and under the bonnet we've got the Powerhouse 998 as usual. So let's go and speak to the owner and see why he's brought it down to us. So this is Brett, and this is Brett's very interesting car. So why have you brought it down today, Brett?
I've been working on it for a couple of years, and I'm intending on finishing it sometime in the next 6 months. I've quite literally been driving it for a couple of weeks. A few running issues, running a bit rich, but again, opportunity to come and see the main man, and that's why I'm bringing it down today. So
wonderful. So when you say it's running a bit rich, what's it doing with its drive? Is it underpowered?
I'd say it's a bit flat on the first take up, but once it gets going, it's generally fine. But it smells rich, and that's a main complaint from the wife, so I have to get that sorted.
All right, okay. So what we got to do is sort out some marital issues. All right. Well, I'll see what I can do under the bonnet.
Thank you very much.
Okay, so I've just been through this one ignition-wise. We've got ACDodd system on it. We've got Iridium plugs, so we haven't changed any of those. Although I have gapped them because the gap was wrong. I've checked the HT lead resistance. Got a 1.5 ohm coil. Got a ballast resistor. We have got a variable dwell dizzy, so we're running about half the ignition power we should have when we're idling. But the engine doesn't seem to be showing any signs of issues with that. The only real problem with the distributor is the vacuum advance is working fine, but the mechanical advance is too long and too slow. So I'm not going to change it today, purely because the system on here is in reasonable condition, but it will mean that we have to put a new distributor, a new coil, a bypass wire, and for what's on here today, I've advised the customer we'll leave it as it is, and then perhaps he's got something to think about in the future if he wants to maximise performance. The main issue is the carburetor, which we're going to deal with now. Okay, so we got the needle out of this one. We got an AAU needle that was in it, which was much too lean. So tried an AAE, that was still too lean. Went for an AAF, which was surprisingly somewhere near right, just lean at 5,000. So a bit of modification at 5,000 revs and through to progression, and then we should be good to go. So got this one all dialed in. In the end, I'd say the advance curve on this one's a little bit long and a little bit slow, but as I say, I could have sold the customer a new Dizzy and a new carburettor today, but that would have just been 600 odd quid that he didn't really want to spend today. So what I've done is I've set the engine up to run the best I can with what we got on the engine, and it actually runs quite well. So we're going to send the owner out in it now and see what he thinks. Okay, so Brett's been out for a test drive in his car, so what do you think now?
Very, very happy, absolutely. I know you found a couple of issues, but actually we're still able to do a tune, and it's night and day. It is definitely well worth doing, absolutely. And we've got somewhere to go in future as well, so we can extract a little bit more.
Yeah, so it's worth just mentioning there, the advance curve's not ideal, so I've advised Brett just to drive it, and don't just bang your foot down at low revs, just feed the accelerator pedal in, and obviously it'll run better until that advance curve's sorted out. And then obviously the carburetor's warm, so you know at some point we'll get that fixed as well.
Yep.
And it'll just add to the excitement and experience.
Definitely.
Excellent. So would you recommend this to anyone else?
Absolutely, yes.
Wonderful. All right, well thanks for bringing your car along and letting me make it run better.
Pleasure.
Okay, so next car is our we've got a 1275 Clubman. This one's got a removable front, although we're not taking it off today, just dialing in the engine. Engine wise, not too bad, so we'll catch up with the owner at some point when we know what it needs. Okay, so looking at this needle, very poor condition with corrosion, as we can see there. So what we're basically trying to do is trying to salvage it. The fueling curve's not too bad, just a bit lean, about 5,000 revs. So I'm just putting a little bit more fuel in at 5,000 and up to progression and a touch more at the top end. But what I'm trying to do is save the needle. As you can see, right at the base end, very, very corroded. So I'm just trying to polish that out and we can reuse it. So I managed to save that one. So that looks pretty good. So we'll get it in there now and we'll see how it fuels. Okay, so this is Shane. So Shane's got the Clubman that we just worked on. We didn't speak to Shane before we did the tune, but why did you bring it down today?
It was running a bit lumpy, a bit rough in places through the rev range.
Yep.
Now it's a lot better.
Yes, there goes the smile. So you've been out for a test drive. More power?
Yeah, more power, a lot smoother.
Lot smoother. Yeah.
Especially changing gear, rev stay maintained.
Yeah, and obviously your vacuum advance was disabled, which we've reconnected. So what's the main difference?
For me, it's definitely the smoothness.
Okay, smoothness and responsive as well.
Yeah, it's definitely responsive, especially putting away.
Yeah. Okay.
It was not hesitating, put it that way.
No. Okay. All right. And he's still smiling, so I think we did a good job. Would you recommend this to anyone else?
Yeah, 100% all day long.
All right. Anyway, thanks for bringing it down and giving me a chance to get another one running sweet.
Yeah. Well, cheers.
Okay. Look at this fantastic looking 61. Beautiful car. And when I mean beautiful, just check out the inside. Look at that. Fantastic. Gauges, everything. Fantastic looking car. And under the bonnet, this is where it gets a bit more interesting. We've got a 1040cc 998. A few little bits are not quite period, like we got a alternator inside the dynamo. Dummy control box, all looks very good. We've got a drilled airbox. This one's been dyno tuned. I've had a little hand in this one. It's got one of my clutches on it, and it's now got one of my dizzies in it as well. So what I'm going to do now is dial this in and hopefully improve on what he's already had. Okay, so this is Chris, and he's the owner of this absolutely stunning Mini Minor. So yeah, credit to you, Chris. This is amazing.
Thank you very much, Adrian.
That's all right, no problem at all. So why have you called me down today?
Because the advance curve in the distributor was wrong. It had been built for it, but whoever did it hadn't done it correct. So you've recurved the distributor for me,
Yeah.
which I've now fitted back in.
Okay.
And you're going to do the next bit.
Wonderful. So what we'll do then is we'll dial that in, and while we're there, we'll also see if the needle's right and all the other bits and pieces.
Yeah.
And we'll see if we can get this really running on point for you.
That'd be great. It goes well, but as everyone says, they all go well, and you squeeze a bit more out of them. So
All right.
like a big lemon.
Yeah. So as I always do, I will do my best,
Yes.
and we'll see what happens.
Yeah. And if it doesn't get any better, then it'll be the end of the video.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Okay. So gone through this one. Spark plug gaps are just a little bit wide, so just took a few thou off them. Everything's new, so I haven't changed any of that. It's my advance curve in the distributor, so I just adjusted that. So we had 30 degrees full in. Everything's running sweet. So what I'm going to do now is have a look at the carb fueling and see where we go from there. Okay, so we got this one dialed in. So in the end, we had a yellow spring, so I'll change that back to a red spring. We had a modified AAU needle, which was too rich. So we were at 0.77 idle, and about once I turned it down to about, sort of 0.95, we were throttling about 0.85 across the rev range, which was too rich. So I had to start with another needle. So I started with an AAE needle and made a new one up to work with a red spring, and we've got good fuel in now. So I'm going to send Chris out on it now and see what he thinks. Okay, so Chris has been out for his test drive. The plugs were actually quite dark, dare I say black. Anyway, now after his test drive, you can see that's running much better. So Chris has been out in his little Mini after the tune. What's it like now, Chris?
It's different to what it was before. It's I wouldn't say it's just much better. It goes right up to the rev range now, which is before it didn't.
Yeah.
It was always reasonably smooth around town, but it's just that much better.
Okay.
It's like a really subtle difference.
It is worth mentioning this one. You have had this one rolling roaded before as well,
It was
haven't you?
rolling roaded. It was doing really well, but I thought there was something not quite right with it. Something was amiss.
Yeah, so and you were correct, because when I put the sniffer up the back, we had 0.77 idle, and it was much too rich all the way across the rev range. So we've now corrected that, and obviously it now drives smoother.
Yeah, much smoother.
Picks up better.
Picks up better.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
All right. Well, that's. I really appreciate you letting me work on this car, because it's a beautiful car to work on, and it's always nice to get them actually running spot on. So. Thanks again for having me down, and thanks also for having everybody else down, because that meant everybody got a half price tune up.
Half price tune up, yeah.
Which
and we
is
got the fifth Mini as well.
Yeah.
Mini.
So 5 cars in one day. So yeah. Anyway, so thank you very much for doing that, because you've not only helped me out, but you've helped the Mini community and yourself.
I have. Thank you very much, and thanks for coming round.
No problem at all.
Well
take care.
And you. Thank you. Bye.
Well, hopefully you enjoyed that. I just wanted to add there that I did notice on that day there was a couple of cars there with increased amounts of corrosion in the carburetors, specifically the needles and stuff. And when I questioned the owners, they were running E10 fuel. So I advised them to make sure they were running stabiliser, which they weren't. One of which we was able to determine he'd only had it with fuel in there for 6 weeks, and it was a new needle, and the needle had already started to discolour and started to oxidise. So all I'm saying is with E10 fuel, the early signs is the corrosion risk is increased. So as I've always said, please use the stabiliser. It will save you in the long run. Okay. Anyway, the other thing I wanted to add there is obviously Chris was the chap there that hosted the day, and by doing so he managed to half the price of having me there for everybody. So you know, that's a really good way of actually getting me round and getting a number of cars tuned once and everybody getting a deal. So the cheapest way to get me as ever is usually an organised event such as a car show. But owners are now getting the idea that getting me round to their house and having multiple cars in one venue is the way to get me there at a sensible price. Now, extending on from that, those up north of the country or ones where I have to travel a lot further, same thing applies. You need to get multiple cars there, gets the price down per car. Anyway, with that being said, as ever, please like and subscribe, and I'll see you soon. Thank you very much.